Good afternoon. This is District Instructional Specialist Letitia Signator, and this is Classroom Management 101 being presented by myself in conjunction with Miss Allison Lands and the BEST program affiliates. Today we're going to discuss what is classroom management. When a teacher has great classroom management, she has effective discipline procedures in place. She's prepared for her class by having her instruction planned out strategically, has systematic procedures in place, and she also creates lessons that will motivate her students. And in that instruction, there's a safe environment in which the children feel comfortable with their learning. And they feel safe. And you also increase student self-esteem. And in order for all these things to happen, you have to be creative and have a great imagination in your everyday lessons. Now, classroom management is going to be different from everyone. There's no one strategic way to do it. However, there are best practices woven into ideas. But why is it different? Why can't I just do what my next door neighbor is doing? Good question. Glad you asked. Now, all of us have different teaching styles. I was a teacher because of my military background. I'm more structured than others. It has to fit your personality. What type of attitude do you have toward learning and your day-to-day attitude? It has to be natural for you. Your student population, as we know, depending on the area in which you are assigned, the population of students differ. What motivates one set of students will not necessarily motivate others. And we have to make sure that we understand that if I do what my next door neighbor is doing and it does not work, I'm not a failure. The management strategies won't work for each and every teacher. So make sure you try different strategies and find those that work for you and your population. All right. Now we're going to talk about why management is important. Management is one of the biggest concerns for beginning teachers, because if I cannot control the behavior, and not necessarily control the behaviors, but if I do not have things in place that allow me to create that environment that is structured in a way that creates little to no loss of instruction time, so that my children don't have time to exhibit behaviors because of lack of instruction, then I cannot have a functioning, highly effective classroom. Okay? There are some principles for classroom management. We have to make sure that when we talk about time, that we don't spend a lot of time on negative behaviors, and that when we do that, we are monitoring the entire class, not just looking for disruptive behaviors, okay? We have to teach students to take charge of their own behavior, because it is a day-to-day decision and choice to display positive behavior or negative behavior. And let's make sure that our students understand the importance of being on task, and in order for us to motivate them, we have to have engaged learning activities, hands-on activities, and activities that require them to talk to each other, talk to you, that keeps them engaged. Because naturally, when something's not appealing to us, we tend to get off task, even as adults. All right. Now, there are techniques for classroom control. Make sure that you're monitoring your entire class. Don't focus on just certain children, because if you do, the ones that display positive behavior that aren't getting attention will mirror those negative behaviors to get your attention. And don't become that teacher that yells. Silence can be very effective. I was a very animated teacher. I'm loud by nature. So when I made my voice soft. My kids understood that, hey, she's letting us know that it's time for us to check our voice levels. All right? And direct your instruction so that a student knows what's happening. If you plan your instruction and it's above your students' knowledge base and they can't keep up, they will act out, because during this time we're frustrating them, and that will allow for negative behaviors to be displayed. All right, we need to make sure we monitor, and I will say that throughout this presentation. We have to monitor our students. You have to pay attention all the time. Most times when we are up at the board or behind our desk, we miss those little behaviors that are happening from between student and student. They may aggravate a student to the point that we think they're having a large outburst, but it may have been building up. So if we're monitoring and we're walking, we can cut down on some of that. We won't alleviate all of it, but some of it we will. Make sure you engage your children in a low profile approach to redirecting them. Never keep continuously calling out a student's name or embarrassing the student. Sometimes a simple whisper in the ear can cause that child to redirect their attention and let you know that I am paying attention to you and I do see you. Okay? And again, our environment is very important. All right. So, also, when you're planning your lessons, make sure we overplanned. Make sure there will not be a time where, I slated 10 minutes for this and it only took 2. Make sure you overplan your lessons until you are no longer a novice teacher and you know how much time it may be necessary to write down how long it took you to do certain things your first couple of weeks of teaching, so you can effectively plan and maximize your time. Always come prepared. Kids can tell when we're winging it. They know when we're not prepared. Show confidence in your teaching, because students believe we know it all. So if you're not sure of something, please look that up prior to administering the instruction, and make sure you learn your kids' names quickly. It means a lot when you say my name. It lets me know you recognize I am here, and who I am, and I matter. Okay. Now we're going to talk about transition time versus allocated time. All right, because you will hear me refer to time on task, not just for students, but for teachers. Your allocated time is that time that we are well up from the state that we must have 60 minutes of math, a minimum of 90 minutes of ELA. Those are allocated times. And when you make your daily schedule, I'm letting my administration know that I will be doing ELA first, I will do this next, and this next. But transition times are the times in between when I have completed the ELA block and now it's time to go to math, science, or social studies. Those time periods are normally when we see some of our behaviors if we have not effectively planned how our children can go from one subject to the other or from one class to the other. So when we do this, I may have you in small groups in workstations for ELA, but I need you all to come together to the carpet or to your desk. This is a great time to establish routines, procedures, nonverbal cues that lets my students know what I want them to do without having a long drawn out conversation, because transitioning is something that you're going to do all day, every day. So the goal is to increase the learning time and decrease the transition time. So often in lower elementary, we may sing a song that is directly related to something in math, like doubles, or science or social studies, when we can find raps, rhymes, stomps, chants, because they're learning when they're doing it. It's a review when they do it, and they're also moving and preparing for the shift in instruction. Now, on-task behaviors are dependent on how smooth and efficient we do this. So if it's not in place, this is something that is imperative for us to get in place, because transitioning and using 2 to 5 minutes, it doesn't seem like a lot, but 5 minutes on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday equals 25 minutes of lost instruction. And 25 minutes a week time a month is over 100 minutes of instructional time. And if I do that for the entire school year, you get the point. It's a lot of loss of instructional time. Okay? Now, I say teachers have to have something called a withedness. I'm sorry, I skipped a slide. I'm sorry. All right? The withedness is when a teacher is aware of what's going on in the room. And this is something that a skill we must acquire in early, because discipline problems happen when we're not monitoring the students, when we're not intervening early with behaviors and teasing and things that elevate to bullying and touching each other. If we're always ever present, we can cut down on those behaviors. When discipline problems arise, you may have one or two going on. The most important one will be the one that may jeopardize student safety, and you will address that first. Okay? And teachers need to make sure that you do not disrupt everybody's learning for a few students that are off task, because you're taking from everybody's learning now. But we have to make sure that we do address them so they don't get out of hand. Okay? With your withedness, make sure the students learn why it's unacceptable. If they broke a rule, make sure you point out which rule it is, or ask the student, what did you do wrong? What could you have done better? What's a better way to handle that or to deal? Because having that conversation with them, it sticks with them, instead of punishing them, and they're not even sure which rule they broke or why they're being punished. It does not deter future behaviors. Okay? There's a Jones study of off-task behavior, and 99% of the behaviors that we see will be students talking out of turn, daydreaming, getting out of their seat without permission. But those real antisocial behaviors, we don't see those a whole lot. Now, if you have one, maybe two, and sometimes three kids that can go from 0 to 100, then it feels like, oh my God, most of my students are so they are so disruptive, which is not the truth, because 99% of your students come to school to learn, and they want to learn, and they do behave. Sometimes those few feel like many, but let's just remember that it's not all our students, and the ones that come to learn, they deserve attention as well. Okay? Now, our proximity and body language is very important. It may not seem like it, but it is. When our kids are with us, we are the parents. So if you have a frown on your face, they see that frown. If you make a particular gesture, they pay attention to you. Look at the children in the eye. Eye-to-eye contact lets them know, I see you. You matter. I'm paying attention to you. And we have to really guard ourselves from displaying nonverbal cues, because these kids are young, but they pay attention to it. Okay? And make sure you monitor, roam around, look around, and avoid turning your back to the class. There will be times when you're walking and your back is to some students, but we should try never to have our entire back turned to our class. You have to feel, and they have to feel, and we have to know that we're ever present. Okay. All right. So we have to cooperation through communication, verbalize to the children what they did, why it's unacceptable, how it could have harmed them, but never pass judgment on the children. Never label kids good or bad, and please do not use sarcasm, because we're adults and we understand sarcasm, but students, they really don't have the knowledge to kind of gauge if you're being sarcastic and where it's coming from. They see it as you're belittling them. Do not place labels on students, good or bad, because if I say you're a good student, you're a good student, you're a good student, and I skip you, I'm inferring that you're bad. And don't overpraise your children, because if you overpraise them, it means nothing. Whether I did something good or not, it means nothing. Let it be genuine good praise, and not all the time. Let them earn your praise so that it means something. All right. When we're creating rules in our classroom, we need to remember that having more is not better. Let's have rules such as no running, walk, don't run on campus, because that one rule covers all the other places. We don't need don't run to the cafeteria, don't run to the playground, don't run to ancillary. That one rule tells them walk and don't run. We don't need to have 50 rules, because we know when we do our taxes, there's a lot of rules and we don't know them, and we have to look them up. And we're not sure when we break one or not until we research it. These are children growing, learning. Set the rules so that they're general, but they're specific enough to address conduct that you have seen in the past and conduct you want to prevent. And make sure that you have a small set of rules. 10 rules is too much for, I'll say, K to 3 students, because they're not going to remember all 10. All right. Now, the rules should make sure that they're going to guide students to be on task. We got to make sure that we maintain a safe and comfortable environment. Tell them we don't run on the campus, because most of the campus is concrete. Floors are hard. If you fall, you can really injure yourself or someone else. Make sure it helps us to maintain cleanliness of the school. Make sure that we keep our campus appealing. Explain all of that to the children. If kids know why it makes more sense to them, they're more likely to abide by the rules. Okay? Right. And as teachers, we need to make sure we stay out of trouble. We need to make sure that we're able to articulate what are the policies of the school. Articulate to parents that when you're speaking to them about it's important for you to bring your child to school. It's a better statement to say, you know that our attendance policy says that children cannot exceed 10 days and your child is at number 6. I'm concerned. How can we help you? But we must make sure that that we know these rules in order to articulate that to our stakeholders, which are our parents, people in the community, and the like. As a teacher, you need to make sure that you know when I have this teachable moment in my class and it's so great and I grab my phone and I record it, am I allowed to put that on Facebook? Can I Snapchat it? Can I put it on Instagram? All of that is very important. The more automated we become, the more rules we have to abide by, and we must know those rules as teachers. Videoing and recording students. And if you are, and I know if you're K-5 you do, if you have to be over a field trip, what are the travel policies? How do I raise money? What do I do when I accept money from parents and students? Do you know that you have to get your own bus and your bus driver and fill out that paperwork, and they have to sign in, sign out, turn in all those things? That's stuff that we need to learn in the beginning. So I hope this was helpful for you. There is a Classroom Management 102 coming where we'll get more specific on the day-to-day activities inside your classroom. In Classroom Management 102, we're going to address things such as how do my students place their book sack? Where should I place morning work? What type of pencil procedures will I have, and the like? And how do I manage small groups? So I hope this was helpful for you. There will be Google form for you to fill out to give me some feedback. And if there was something I did not cover in 101 and 102, please let me know so that we can cover it in a Classroom Management 103. Thank you.